Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibilityman. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Our guest today is Yrlande Simon. She is a retired nurse practitioner with 20 years of experience. She's currently a licensed financial professional. She offers financial education and asset management services for individuals, professionals, and business owners. She is passionate about assisting folks like you in achieving financial stability and sharing information on how to safely and successfully transfer wealth. Yrlande Simon, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Look, wonderful to have you indeed. I'm looking forward to this conversation. But first, a reminder to our listeners and our viewers, follow, like, and share this podcast wherever you find it. You know something? It is true. In order to attract guests like Yrlande Simon, we need your support. So your support is appreciated. Yrlande, let me tell you, this is the funny story here. Before we met today, I said, I'm going to Google Ireland's name and full name, Yrlande Simon, and see if I can find her, if she's the only one. Guess what? You're not the only Yrlande Simon around. Were you
I'm
aware of that?
glad. I'm aware, but very few, and spelling is a little different. But I'm glad that I'm
Yeah,
the only one.
you are. And look, and I live in South Carolina. I think you're in New Jersey. But I found an Yrlande Simon in my home state. I said, well, I got to look this Ireland up and see what she's up to and see if she's doing what my Ireland is doing. So
Oh,
wonderful to have you. Look, my first question, and I love talking to nurses, any human being on the planet. We are around nurses and we love our nurses. So I
yeah.
got to ask you, your first profession, why did you choose nursing?
Oh, I love that question. That's a great question. I wouldn't say I chose nursing as much as nursing chose me. Very early on, I mean, not to get too personal, I lost my father. My father was dying in the hospital, and I initially thought, who's telling us what's going on? Not so much anyone. So I thought it was a social worker. So I said, I want to be a social worker. I want to be the person to call the family and tell them things.
Mhm.
So in my young mind, and very early on in high school, I started volunteering in nursing homes. And I noticed the nurses were the glue, that they had access to everyone. So I said, that's what I want to be. So that's why I
Mhm.
said nursing chose me, because being there, it tugged at my heart that people need someone to be the glue to keep the family in the different parts together. So very early on in high school, I said, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. And everything I did from that point was to get me there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect answer because sometimes careers do call us. Was it like something inspired? Was it? Well, it is from what you just said.
Mhm.
It's like a calling, isn't it?
I would say so. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. As an outsider who have received, the benefits of having nurses around, I tell you what, you all got to be called to that profession to do what you all do. But Ireland, but not only did you choose nursing, or that nursing chose you, you took a deep dive into the medical education. You became a nurse practitioner. What prompted you to continue on?
What prompted me initially when I started that, again, I started as a nurse's aide at 16. So I used to say when kids were enjoying summer, I was taking classes to become a CNA. So
Hmm.
I'm very observant in nature. So that's, I guess, a blessing that God has given me. They call it introverted now.
Yeah.
So I observed a lot. So what I looked at, I saw the nurses were the glue very early on. And as I progressed through my nursing school days, and I noticed that the doctors were, yes, the person that made the decision, but sometimes because we were there, if we had the tools, decisions would have been made a little bit earlier. So I worked my way my last years of college to say I'm coming back and I'm gonna pursue my master's for one reason, because I want that being able to make the decision part. And then
Mhm.
second, I grew up in an underserved community where people that looked like me were not so much receiving the care that I felt like they deserve. So if
Mm,
I want to make a change, I need to be that person. So
mhm,
I need to be able to have the higher education. So I went right back to it in the sense that I knew that this is what was going to take me there. So that was one of the main reasons, having a bigger voice.
Yeah, look, I want to stay here for a little while longer because what you're saying is that, I mean, sometimes if you want to make a difference, you can stay on the outside and complain about it. But it seems to me that you stepped up and you got into the fray to try to make a difference. I just love that, Ireland.
Thank you.
Yeah. You also said something that I don't want to pass up. And this is a message to individuals who want to pursue any kind of career. You didn't just wait from what you've said until you went to nursing school. You got started early. And what, you're a 16-year-old kid. What prompted you to get started so early?
Honestly, I always used to say it was the hand that I was dealt. I
Uh,
lost my father early. My mother was a single mom, and I
uh,
started working at 12 and just to kind of help and say, Mom, I'm a helper by nature.
uh,
Mom, here's
mm,
200, here's my little paycheck. So for me, I saw that she needed me. So
yeah.
do this. So my
Uh,
childhood, I didn't have a childhood in the sense that I can't say I didn't have a childhood because
uh,
once you went through that stage, whether you enjoyed it or not, you had one. But
yeah.
mine was slightly different. I then started to figure out how do I make more money and how do
Mhm,
I get in the in area where I have something steady. So that's one
mhm,
of the reason and then I was in a program that they offered to kind of expose us to the health field. So they offered
mhm.
the course, so I just went ahead and took it. It was free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And money is good. I mean, especially if you're in the Western world, money is good, right?
Yes.
Nursing is good too. But Ireland, if someone is out there starving, in addition to healthcare, they also need what?
Money.
Money
Money.
care. We shouldn't be embarrassed about that at all. And then
Absolutely.
you made this shift. You're serving as a nurse. You're doing great work, no doubt. You did it for a whole 20 years. God bless you, sister. Wow.
Thank
But
you.
not only did you do that, you began to serve in another arena, financial education. What prompted you, Ireland, to look in that direction?
That prompt came in mainly around the pandemic.
Mm,
What I realized, I went full circle, my career went full circle where I worked in a lot of different settings. And I always said, God, bring me home where I grew up
mm,
to serve. And that's an underserved community. So I was
mm,
in a nursing home there in the thick of COVID and saw that um, it wasn't racism that's dividing us, it's
mm,
information, it's money.
mm,
And as I was doing what I can as a nurse practitioner, there's so much you could do in the face of COVID if we think back. But what I realized everyone had an issue with was when we went to that standstill, when family were
mhm.
losing their loved ones and they had to hurry up and bury, the lack of finances were more detrimental to people.
Yeah.
So I kept saying, God, I need to do more. But that nagging pain started in 2019, where I
Mm,
said, I want to do more. I know what I'm doing. I love it and I can do it in my sleep, but I want to do more. I listened to a tape where Les Brown says,
yeah.
the cemetery is where there's a lot of dreams buried, right? Because people go allow themselves not to fully be used by God.
Mhm,
And I wanted to just feel like I'm that person that have done everything I could while I'm here. Because there's no use of me being on this earth taking up space and I'm not being
mhm,
used in a positive manner. So I kept saying, I want to do more. And then that came in around 2020 when I saw the issue, the disconnect, and I said, I need to learn more. And I had a good friend of mine. I would have to say God propelled a good friend of mine my way. And then
mhm.
she shared that information with me. And I said, I need to learn it. And I think everyone needs to hear this. So in becoming a student of the information, and I realized that, wait a minute, I have a master's. I went to a very prominent school here in New Jersey. I would read and listen, but no one's shared this information with me. I've been with my bank for over 10 years plus at that time, no one at the bank approached me and teach me about this information. I need to be that person to champion it, to go to the people I know and the people that I don't know to say, I need you to hear this. So that was what propelled me, seeing that there's a divide and the lack of knowledge is the bigger divide.
I love it. I mean, I tell you what, I just love what you're sharing because somewhere in my sacred book, it says something, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And
Yeah.
you're sharing that knowledge. I love it. I love what you're doing for sure. Yeah, so let's look at some key terms here because I want people to be thinking about this because I want to get into a topic. I want to save it and I'll go back to a few things that you have already said. I
Yes.
want people to be thinking about financial education broadly that we want to bring it in. So I've noticed that you have been referred to as a wealth strategist. If this is right for you, can you give us some sense of what that means and expand it as much as you want to?
Yes, a wealth strategist. I want to be fair. My former title is a licensed financial professional, which loosely put is financial advisor. And what we do, we help people strategize to create wealth,
Mhm.
to build wealth, to maintain wealth, and to pass on wealth. So
Yeah.
the term wealth strategist, I help you put a strategy in place.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you need to build, if you need to create or leave wealth, that's what I
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, I mean, strategy is so appropriate here. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's just a small thing, isn't it? You know, if a
It-
person is 22 getting a job for the very first time, and maybe, you know, I'll make it simple. In Ireland, save a dollar, whatever, just save a dollar. Some things, it doesn't have to be rocket science, right? Come on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a straight, it could be a strategy here. I love wealth strategy. I've also seen someone refer to you as and if you don't like this term, reject it. Nah, that's right. I'm okay with that. But I've seen someone refer to you as a cash flow specialist. That's, oh, I like that. I mean, see if that works for Ireland. So what'd you say about that?
Yes, the cash flow specialist, meaning that for me, I don't go by that term, but I appreciate standing by it, in
Uh,
the sense that you might look at me or someone might look at my page or me teaching that information and says, I wish I could do this. I can never do this. Or I
mhm,
wish I could do this also, to earn
mhm,
extra income. And they don't realize that, yes,
yeah,
they themselves can do this work. Because,
yeah,
what I did as a nurse practitioner, you need in-depth studies to do this. But being an educator, a financial educator, a financial literacy educator does not take much.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And,
so
yeah, and that's important. So I'm glad you said it that way.
mm,
Uh, you know, we're in the 21st century,
yeah.
2024 to be specific. And there's nothing wrong with Ireland and having a side hustle that makes you money,
Oh,
right?
not at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, in fact, we all should have a side hustle that makes us money, you know.
Yes, and
Yeah,
multiple streams of income, honestly.
that's right. I love it, Ireland. Now, I want to talk something very basic that every person on the planet, we're in the United States, so we'll talk US, but in the Western world for sure, every person has to be thinking about something as basic as insurance. Now, I'm assuming, I'm out on a limb here, that insurance is important in your world of work. Is it or is it not?
It's 100% time important in my line of
Mhm.
work. Yes.
Okay. I want to
Yeah.
go through this step by step because I don't want to lose anyone. If you're listening and you're watching, please pay close attention here. Ireland, how does a person go about choosing an insurance plan that's right for them? I'm assuming now, and slap me in the face if I'm wrong, that one size doesn't fit all. How does a person go about choosing something for themselves?
The best way to do that is to sit with a licensed financial professional.
Mm,
Not by just, I've noticed some people do so by going to the internet and then choosing something.
mm,
Not like you said, not one size fit all. So when you go on the internet and you answer a few questions, you may not get what is truly suitable to you. So how
mm,
does one go by choosing what works for them? It's really to sit with a financial person that explains the option that first does a couple of things. I would say that I do. I assess
mm,
the person's situation.
Yeah.
So I approach this industry just like I do with nursing. I assess your situation because not everybody's situation is the same and not everybody needs the same thing. And then second, I see what works for the individual. So we
Mhm.
tailor made something for the individual that they can afford and that is suitable for them at the stage of their lives at the moment. So
Yeah.
that's really how to choose because insurance does not come in one size fit all. And
Right.
all of us should not be rocking with a simple temporary or term insurance and think we have everything and we're creating wealth. There's nothing wrong with the term policy, but
Yeah.
it doesn't suit everyone.
Yeah.
And going about choosing insurance, saying I have insurance through my work or my employer is also not a suitable way of being insured because it doesn't belong to you. So the goal should be for everyone is to sit with a licensed financial professional. And let me give you a little tip. We do not charge for sitting with us. We do not
Uh-huh.
charge for services. So everyone should be running to someone every day or every
That's
beginning
right.
of the year to sit with someone to see what is their option, what are the options, and what they should take advantage of.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you with you more about term policies later in this conversation. But I want to go back about one size not fitting all. I'm going to give you an example. I want you to comment on this. I retired from full-time work, some years ago. And, my children are grown, I say, I don't need a lot of insurance. I just need enough to bury myself, right? So I picked the number. I said, I'm going to keep this at this level. And then Ireland, my grandchild came. I'm thinking, I want to raise that amount. I went back to my employer. They said, no way. You can go down, but you just can't go up. Do you see that one size doesn't fit all? You do have to look at your needs and what's on the horizons, as you've been saying. What can you
Yeah.
say about that?
What I can say about that, your thought process were good, right? But I
Yeah, yeah,
think we didn't think like we need to think a little bit more future forward,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
for someone who your thought process were perfect because I don't think you were thinking about the grandchildren yet.
yeah.
But in regard to that, what I tell people is aim high. Just like the
Mhm.
company told you, you can go down, but you can't go up. So
Right.
go high, start high. And then if you need to go down, then you go down. That would be my
Indeed.
advice to people.
Indeed. 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 All right, let's really get into this nitty gritty now. Ireland and I'm going to be specific here,
Mhm.
is life insurance important in your world?
I would say life insurance is very important.
Mm,
And I know a lot of community were not taught the importance of life insurance.
mhm.
But it is as important, if not more important than health insurance. I know we put a lot of emphasis on health insurance. And coming from medical field, health insurance keep us paid. But I would say to you, life insurance keep your family paid. So who do you
Yeah,
want to pay? The medical provider or do you want to pay your family? So that's why it's more important than the health insurance or as
yeah,
important. Let me be clear, as important.
yeah. I got you. And I want to probe this up. We'll stay with this a little longer because, this is at my age, I've seen so much. It's almost critical. So here's something that I heard many years ago, like decades ago. It might have been from a financial planner. He was giving a course on financial education. He
Yeah,
said, and he used husband, when a wife's husband dies and she has small children, he told the audience, he said, that woman will cry twice. She'll cry because she's lost her loved one. But she'll also cry because she's wondering, how am I going to bury him? Then how am I going to take care of these children of mine?
yes.
Do you think that was a fair statement of that person
I would
about
say
someone crying twice? Yeah.
I would say I think it's fair, but I think he missed a couple of more crying.
Okay,
I
go
don't
ahead.
I think the crying is endless. I
Mm,
would use the example of my mother. My mother
mm,
was 42 when she lost her husband. She had four biological children and two bonus children for my father.
mm,
Now we newly immigrated to this country. And coming from our country, we did not know English. So
mm.
my mother did not only cry once or twice, my mother cried every day
Oh, Lord.
because she had to
Yeah.
figure out how to take care of the two of us that were here with
Yeah.
her and the
Mhm,
four that were back home.
mhm.
So, and then my father left her empty-handed. So yes, she had to figure out how to bury him and then how to carry on taking care of 6 children without him. And we were all minors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
therefore, yes, it is a statement that I think we're using the term she cried twice, but I think it's
Mhm.
an endless cry because until you get to these kids to the kids to the age of maturity, you're everything they
Yeah.
have. Yes,
Right. Yeah, I just want to underscore that. I mean, it's so important. You never know, right? When it's going to happen to you, when your number is going to be called. But it's good to be prepared. It's good to be
absolutely.
prepared in insurance. And the other thing that I've seen, Ireland, and I want your input on this for sure. I've seen that some people, especially some young people, think that they're bulletproof in life. Oh, I'm bulletproof. I don't need life insurance. And then, their number get punched, right? They're gone. Now, the question is, how did they get buried? Talk to
Yeah.
us about this. Where does life insurance come in that situation?
Yes. I think it's just, I guess, being young and dumb, we call it. So we'll excuse them for that.
Yeah.
But I also think it's from lack of proper education. Um,
Mm.
and I was that person, so I think you were talking to me too.
Mhm.
So I think it's lack of proper education. I'm saying that because of the simple fact that a lot of communities are taught that life insurance is for dying only.
Mm.
But I want to underline the word life. There are
Mm.
life insurance products that you can purchase that you
Mm.
can utilize while you're alive. So if
Yeah.
these young people are aware that there are life insurance that they can use while they are alive, it will
Mm.
make it something that they are more attracted to. It will
Mm.
be something that every parent will buy from their young children so that, God forbid, when their numbers are punched, as you say, there's something to pull from to bury that young
Yeah.
individual. So I
Yeah.
think it's a mindset that has to be changed, that has to be done.
Mm.
And we have to reprogram and re-educate our communities that life insurance is not simply for dying, it's also for living.
Mhm. And even some young people who are unmarried but have children, they may forget that, look, I got children, right? They need to make some provisions in case something happens to me before they reach age of maturity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So oh, by the way, before I forget to ask you this, when you're young, is that a great time to buy insurance?
That's the best time to buy insurance because insurance is driven by your age and your health.
Mhm.
And you can't go back to being 22 and healthy anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the age does play a big role. So absolutely, the younger, the better.
yeah. So I can see this is a lot of reasons for young people to get some type of insurance on themselves. You mentioned too health and the cost because of the youth. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this, Ireland, because most of us don't think about this the way you think about the subject, the way you think about it. Is life insurance, would you put life insurance in the category of an asset? Or should it go into another category?
It is in the category of asset. It's
Hmm.
actually in the category of assets that does not get touched by anyone.
Hmm.
So it's one of the asset that does not get touched by the government, probate, IRS, or any person that you may owe money to. So it is an
Hmm.
asset, not a
Hmm.
liability. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I raised 3 children, and I'll tell you what, I'm a big fan of insurance. When I was younger, my kids were young. I guess my biggest asset was my life insurance policy. And I would tell guys my agent said, my policy is such and such, right? And one guy said to me, he was a business owner. He said, yeah, everyone is worth more when they're dead.
Yes.
So yeah, it's an important asset for sure. You've already touched upon a person's health and insurance. Can you say more about that, about the appropriate time of maybe buying when you're as healthy as possible, as opposed to saying to yourself, I'm going to delay this until next year or I'll wait. Can you talk to us about the importance of choosing when they get this inspiration? I need some insurance for myself.
Mhm.
Talk to us about the importance of deciding when you are as early as possible, especially because of your health.
Yes. Ideally, parents that are aware of this information, and that's what we want to put out there,
Mhm.
are getting insurance from the minute their children have a social security card. And yes, because most baby come out pure and healthy. So when you
Mhm.
start an insurance product for them, you're doing a couple of things. You're ensuring their health as the healthiest phase. And then two, you're building something for them that will carry them to the future because there are different type of life insurance products
Yeah.
that product will be building wealth for that child as they grow. So
Mhm.
that's one. Now, when it comes to health, everyone's one doctor's visit away from not qualifying for life insurance. I
Mm.
used to work in settings where people come in healthy as can be. And then we run some tests and it's cancer. We run some tests, it's this condition. So therefore, these individuals at that point, once that test is done and the billing process has gone through, the insurance
Mm.
company, now they let's say they try to run and get life insurance because now it becomes a necessity for them. That information has already been communicated into the cloud, I call it. And the
Yeah.
insurance companies who's doing their underwriting or their background work on you will find that there is something wrong with you. So
Mm.
therefore, they do not want to take risk with that individual. So
Mhm.
it is essential to purchase a life insurance, be it as small as it can be, for a small price, whatever the person can afford at a younger age, in
Mhm.
order to bypass if there's family history of diabetes, high blood pressure, family history of cancer, so that when that becomes an issue for us,
Mhm.
that it's not too late to get insured. So the
Yeah.
earlier, the younger the individual is, the better. I'll give you an example. I have three children. When I learned that
Mhm.
information, I have diabetes runs heavy in my family and God knows what else. So
Mhm.
I quickly got them covered because I said to myself, if they get to the phase of being young and dumb, at least I have them covered. And
Yeah.
God forbid, if they have a medical illness where they become uninsurable, meaning that no insurance company wants to touch them, mom
Mhm.
and dad has already put something in place for them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, that's so beautiful. When my kids were younger, and I wasn't aware, as you just stated,
Yeah.
I got U.S. savings bonds for them. I'm thinking I'm doing something, but you're right. It's good to understand that you can buy insurance for them at a younger age, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to get into the types of insurance right now. I'm going to take you in a few directions, okay? You've
Yes.
already mentioned one of them, and I want to start there, and it is term life insurance. Firstly, what is that?
Yes, term life insurance is typically the same as what the job gives you. The word terms is referred to a temporary insurance. It's temporary in nature because the maximum amount of years some people can have it for most company is 30 years. After 30 years, whatever you paid in for those 30 years goes away. You do not get anything back and you do not get a grace period. If you want to continue that policy, let's say you're now 70, you can. The company will allow you, but it will not be at the low price that you were paying. It would be at an amount that will cover a 70-year-old.
Mhm.
So that's the term. It's temporary. I call it an umbrella, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Meaning that if you are in the rain, there's nowhere to take shelter and you just have an umbrella, you use that. Because if that's all someone can afford, there's no reason to say, I'll wait so I can get permanent or whole life before I get term. So term has its purpose,
Mhm.
whereby if someone wants to leave legacy, like you said, leave our family richer than we were while we were alive, using term policy is the way. You can leave a substantial amount of money for your family and for paying a very small amount per month. I'll give you an example. A 33-year-old can buy a 10-year term policy for $25. That's less than lunch a day. I wouldn't advise that person to just get 10 years, but I'm giving you an example. So
Mhm.
these are the pluses of a term. Now, the negative of a term is that a lot of people are living longer. Average age expectancy, life expectancy is 85. So when you're choosing term, look around in your family. How old is grandma? How old
Yeah.
is mom? If if grandma is 75 and she's going partying, you're getting the wrong product. If you think you want that product forever, you may have to reconsider.
Mhm.
However, I want to reiterate, a lot of time people may be having issue financially and they cannot afford a more expensive product. Buy a term. There are companies that will allow you, if they have that product available, to come back within a certain period of years and turn that term into making it a whole life or
Mhm.
permanent policy.
Yeah, there's a place for term. I get you, but you're also right about if as you age, that premium is a reason. Quick story, Ireland. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh at me with this one. When my kids were young, okay, so I really tried to get my insurance. I had two types of insurance. I had about a $500,000 with two policies. As I got older, my kids were aged out, out of high school, out of college. Oh, I can't keep these policies. I bet you can guess why.
But
I
they
didn't
were,
keep them.
you didn't keep them. Oh,
Yeah, but can you guess why though? Can you guess why?
were they eating you out of a house of a home
Oh
or?
my God, Ireland, you nailed it. The premium, I tried to give, I said, look, I'm trying to give this thing away. I said, look, why don't you keep this policy? If something happens to me, you become 250,000 in your pocket. They said, I'm not paying that monthly premium. No,
Yes,
I couldn't
yes,
give away that. So you're so right. It's good to recognize that there's a place for term, but be aware that as you age, that term policy is going to keep creeping up and up and up. And at some point, it'll be too costly to even maintain. So that's very good. You also threw out the other one that some people are not aware of this one, whole life insurance. I will educate us. What is whole life insurance?
yes. Whole life insurance is permanent. So it's the opposite of term. Term is temporary. Whole life is a permanent policy. Permanent policy means that you do not outlive it. If it is
Mhm.
well structured by an individual, you will not outlive that policy. Meaning that a lot of our of whole life goes into 100 years old or 221 years old. So at that point, that individual will always have insurance. And because it is structured for them to have it that long, the price doesn't creep up on them. The price remains stable based on how it's structured. I wanna stand corrected. As long as it's well structured by the agent.
Mhm.
So it will not change. The price will not
Yeah.
change. So that individual has this whole life policy, which means it covers their whole life. You're gonna
Mhm.
hear some version of whole life policies called Index Universal Life.
Mhm.
All of those, for example, you have three children, they all spin off of you, right? You're
Mhm.
Mr. Middleton, the great, the first, right? Everyone else comes after you. So you're the original copy. You're the original copy. Everyone else is carbon copy, right? Whole life is permanent. Then they did a spin-off of whole life called Index Universal Life. It's
Yeah.
also
Let's
very,
save that. Let's save that, Ireland. Let's save that. But that's good. That's good. I'm going to get there. I'm
yeah,
so glad you brought that up. But let's stay with this whole life for a moment here. I didn't know about the differences in policies when I was much younger.
yeah.
So I want to make sure that people recognize that there are different types of policies here. And now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this way. If you had an individual sitting in your office, they're looking for the cheapest premium that they can find. And the cheapest premium that they can find, depending on how much they want, may be which policy, which type of insurance, maybe you said it was term, right? But
Yes.
then whole life may cost more, but there's certain advantages. Talk to us about the advantages of this whole life as compared to what a term life may not help them achieve. I'm thinking from my experience, but it's my experience. So, what are the advantages of a whole life, especially as the person ages, a person gets older?
Yes, absolutely. A whole life policy, what it does in essence, it takes care of your need and desire to leave your family better off after you're gone because it
Hmm.
is what is called a death benefit. So if be it 200,000, 250,000, whatever amount you chose. So
Hmm.
it's doing that purpose. Then I want you to picture there's another bucket in that policy where the company takes a little bit, the reason it's a little bit more expensive, that money that you're paying is doing two things. Pay that death benefit, remember, that you want to leave for your family. So then there's a bucket where the company adds some of that money and builds what is called a cash value for you.
Hmm.
You hear people throw the term, I have a bank inside of my life insurance.
Yeah.
That's the layman term of saying it's building some cash value for me. And that cash value is good because it allows people that are not saving, like the young people, to save a little bit of money where they cannot always go and touch it right away because it's hidden in the side of a life insurance. So that cash value oftentimes grows with interest. And that's why they came up with the index universal life, which gives a little bit more of a robust type of interest rate. It's not a high interest rate because it's not an investment product, but it's what you can compare to say, I'm getting more here than I would get if I had my money in a bank.
Yeah.
So that interest rate allows that cash value to build over time. Now, let's say an individual were to get that at 22, and over time, they continue to contribute the same amount, and the cash value continues to grow. Now, this individual is now in their 50s and they want to start a business. They may very well have access to some cash in that cash value that they can do what is called take a loan from themselves to fund their business. So rather than going and take a loan from a company and have to pay them a higher interest, they can take a loan from themselves. And
Yeah.
also, there's people that leave it till retirement, and then they supplement their retirement with taking money from that cash value coming directly from a life insurance product.
That is so important. I mean, gosh, 50 years ago, I might have said, my younger self would have said, I can't afford, a whole life policy.
Yes.
My older self would tell that younger self, you cannot afford not to have a good, substantial whole life policy because the benefits could be substantial if you live in, to be at where I am now. So,
Yes.
yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely.
You threw out index universal a couple of times. Was trying to restrain, hold back Ireland. I'm not sure how you feel about them. I know that everyone doesn't offer them. So firstly, let's get to the nitty gritty. What is an index universal life policy?
Yes. An index universal life policy is another version of whole life policy. A lot of you're correct. A lot of people would talk down on whole life in permanent policy, especially in community of color. And I want to reiterate to people that we're not doing investment, but and I don't speak to about insurance like it's an investment or is a way to build huge amount of money. But what I want to reinforce to community of color, our people live long. I've worked in nursing home where the oldest individual is in their 100 and they're still doing good. So I stress if you can afford a whole life or index universal life to do so because you may outlive a term. And everything you paid into it, you lose. And that's when people think insurance companies are thieves. Because of that, they're not thieves. You just chose the wrong products and you stay too long with the wrong products. But that would be my answer to people who says, oh, whole life are not good products. But index universal life came about where whole life was, is again a permanent policy. However, the cash value in whole life used to grow very conservatively, whereby the companies would give very minimal amount of interest rate. Now, index universal life comes about where they said, we're going to allow these people to be flexible with how much they pay monthly, be flexible with how much interest we give them. And we're also going to allow these individuals, another issue that used to come about with whole life policy. If let's say I build 200,000 in my cash value, but never got to touch it, and I were to pass away, I had a death benefit, which was what I wanted to leave for my family was 500,000. The companies, based on structure, would give my family just a 500,000, and they used to keep the 200,000. Now that didn't make any sense.
No.
No, and it was not something that people want to get into. Now the index universal life, structurally being structurally put together well by the agent, will give the family the $250,000 plus the 500,000. So that family would have $700,000 total. So the structure has changed in that index.
That's beautiful. I mean, from where I sit, that's really beautiful, to have something set up and to stick with it for a long period of time, for sure. So I want to look at retirement now. And that's something that, a 20-something-year-old, a 30-something may not be thinking about. So what type of retirement planning, because most people, by the way, defer to whatever their company do, whatever their jobs do. And thankfully, some jobs force people to do some. What are some advice would you give to someone if they're fortunate to live long enough to retire, to plan for that day when they retire?
Yes. The first advice that I would give to someone, and I would give it to my 22-year-old self when I started nursing, is
Mhm.
that retirement is not an age, it's a number. Look how amazing you look, and you've been retired for this long. So that means retirement is not an older age, because you don't look retirement age, but you're retired.
17 going strong, Ireland.
Amazing. You look amazing. So that to say that retirement, people think, oh, at 22, I'm never gonna get old. So they don't start planning for it. So retirement is not so much how old you will be when you stop working. It
Mm.
should be how much money do I have put to the side in a
Ah,
retirement vehicle that if I
yeah,
stop working, it will continue to take care of me. That's what retirement should be. So most average individual that start working at 22 should start planning for retirement right away. And as you
right
mentioned,
away.
yes,
Mhm.
some companies offer their own retirement products. However, I will enforce and reinforce that people should have something of their own, another vehicle that they are utilizing, because the job can only take you so far. And then second, the job may not keep you for 30 years. So,
That's right.
yes, when you leave that job, where else are you going to go? In today's culture, most young people don't stay at jobs for too long. So they're job hopping. So a lot of time they don't even stay long enough to qualify for this plan. So they
Mm.
have to do something outside of the
Mhm.
job. That would be my
Yeah.
advice.
I love that's beautiful. I mean, that's really perfect. Start planning early for sure. Take it for someone who has gone through it. Start planning early, and saving money though, because you talk about, in addition to insurance as just insurance, that it's important to see not only insurance as a savings, but the importance of saving money as well. Talk to us about that. How can a person, most people are going to give the excuse, look, at the end of the month, I got more, what's the phrase? I got more month than money. How can I save? Saving, Ireland.
Yes, saving is essential. However, as you said, a lot of people are struggling.
Yeah.
They say they have more bills than money, more months than money. So,
Mhm.
it is harder to now try to put something away. However, it becomes where the person really have to do a deep dive. Where are their money going? Because
Mhm.
each one of us, given the challenge, can find an additional $10 that is
Yeah.
going to something that is not necessary.
Mhm.
Each one of us here can look and say, there's a gym membership that I'm truly not using. So let me cut that off for now and, save that $45, save that
Mhm.
$50. So one is finding out where is my money going. Budgeting is key. So saving comes by where I'm budgeting what I'm spending and I'm not going to spend what I don't have.
Mhm.
And saving whatever is left, even if it's $10 and making that $10 grow over time. So if you one is bad with saving, there's different ways you can save where you have an extra $100 come out of your saving into an account that you cannot touch.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's something that people should start teaching their children very early so that the kid knows that money doesn't come in and out. So there's a system, there's a staying power to allowing that money to grow. But I'm going to also say one thing that might be controversial for our people is that
Mhm.
saving should not only occur in a bank account because banks does not give you can save all the money you want. That's the first place to for the money to come through, but it should not be where it resides. The
Right.
reason being that savings account does not afford you any interest on your money. So if you have $50,000 you have, and that money is not growing for you, so the minute you
Mhm.
start to spend it, it goes because it was not growing. So I don't advise investing your all of everything you have, but you have to put your money in a vehicle that allows you to earn some form of interest
Mhm.
on that money. Otherwise, the money loses buying power when
Yeah.
things get expensive.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm so glad you've emphasized several times, start early and start with your children early as well, because it is a lifestyle, isn't it? And this is about lifestyle. You earn $100, let's do the 10% thing, we get from church. Put 10%, somewhere, and not only 10, you give away 10 or, whatever you want to, how you want to do it. Is that you got to start doing this, and it's a lifestyle. And what about this, Ireland? Some people say, you know, something. Heck, I don't want to make somebody else rich when I go away. That's a lifestyle too. Is that people say, oh, I want to spend all of my money now. What do you think about this notion of creating legacy income for the successors that you care about and that you say that you'll love? Is that important as you educate people?
I think it's very important because it's selfish to bring these
Hmm.
children in this world, give them the lifestyle we give them, and then when we check out, we leave them poor because I think that's going to contribute to a lot of issues in society.
Yeah.
Because we can't, a lot of mothers and parents I sit with, and they say, I do this for my children, but yet don't see that if you're not here, who's going to take your children from here to where they need to go? And
Yeah.
it's
Mm.
also even more selfish because a lot of younger people are dying and leaving their children to their grandparents, to their parents.
Yeah.
Now you're
Mm.
leaving a retired individual to take care of teenagers barely on income that they can survive on. That's selfish, to me.
Yeah.
So thinking
Mm.
that I don't want to leave money for people to get rich on is selfish. A spouse,
Yeah.
I spent all these years with you. The least that you can do is to leave me better than you found me. So I
Right.
think it's
Yeah.
selfish nature in us that says that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, the person may be gone, but they leave a lot of pain, you know, in the earth, in their spouse, in their children, grandparent, whatever. It's a lot of pain there, and for the people who are trying to bury them, you know, to do that. So that could be very, very painful. How does a person, Ireland, protect their money asset? How does Is that possible to do that? Especially as you age and you're going to check out, you're going to leave. How do you protect your dollars?
Well, the best way to protect your dollars is to have proper paperwork in place. And I
Uh-huh.
don't like the word age because you said it, life happens to all of us. So
Hmm.
the minute you start having some form of asset, it doesn't have to be in the form of home. Your children are your asset. So
Yeah.
having the right paperwork in place is key.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't want to sit with a lawyer. Estate planning is key. So having the right paperwork, who makes money decision for you if you become unable
Mm.
to? Who makes decision for you if you need someone to make decision because you're no longer
Mm.
here? So I'm talking about everyone needs a
Mm.
healthcare proxy.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a living will. Everyone even I dare even say everyone need a trust.
Mm.
Because the problem is we acquire this American dream we want so badly, but then it gets snuffed away from us when life happened because we did not have any protection on those things.
Yeah. Mm.
So yes, it's essential for everyone to have some form of protection because the reason
Mm.
why we say that, if I have a home and something happens to me, by design, my home goes into probate and
Mm.
the government decides. We'll give you a clear example. I'm not an important individual, but everyone might know Chadwick Boseman. He was the actor who played in Black Panther. He died young. He was pretty young. Unfortunately, he did not survive colon cancer. And because he had no paperwork in place, remember, we think that we're not going to die yet. So when he passed away, everything went to probate. If you look, it's public information. The government made out like a bandit. They literally
Mm.
had more money than his family did because remember, dead people have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Dead people have to pay their debt. So if he didn't have paperwork in place saying that I want this to go to my spouse, it's fair game for the government.
Yeah. This is, I mean, and a person, you know, the average Joe like me, you can't figure all of this stuff by yourself. It's important to sit with someone who knows, who's knowledgeable, who can guide you. But you know, you also said something very important. You said, you know, you got to have some paperwork in place. Come on now, you know, just the basic, right? You got to have something in place. Yeah. So now I know from just talking with you today, my sense is that you've been a leader for a long time. When did you recognize, or I'm not sure, let me ask you differently, because maybe you don't see yourself as a leader. So when did you recognize that you are a leader?
Hmm. I would
Because
say
you are, you know, it shows, all right?
thank you. I probably did should have recognized it when I used to boss my siblings around. I'm the middle child,
Uh,
but
yeah,
I think they called it something else at the time. I would say I recognize that I need to, I don't, like you said, we often dummy ourselves down and don't see ourselves as a leader. But when I saw myself, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. So it is my job to go and get the information and bring it. So more than ever, when I started working as a young 22-year-old nurse, I realized that lives are in my hands and they depend on what I tell them. So I had to take what I knew and I had to take what I was doing very seriously. So in order to do that, and if I started to horn in my skill and say, as a woman of color, if I want the world to take me seriously, I better know what I know and I better, be able to say it to them in moments like this. So I
Yeah,
applied that to every aspect of my life. So knowledge would help you lead. And
yeah.
yeah, that's how
Yeah,
I
yeah, that reminds me of something that the late Senator, I think it was Edward Brooke. I think Edward was his first name, Brooke, Senator of New York, actually. He says there's no substitution for preparation. There's no substitution for that. Get yourself ready. Well, that's for sure. That's what you're saying. There's something else that occurred to me, Ireland, and that is, it seems to me that you've always been engaged, which since you were a girl in high school, in professional development. Is that still big in your life, or is that something that just happened back then? Professional development.
absolutely, I think you need professional development every day.
Mm,
If you stop getting, I call that filling my cup because
mm,
I can't pour from an empty cup. If I'm not going to listen to someone else and learn from someone else, how can I give to people? So it's
mm.
something that we all have to do because the minute you stop doing that, you stop growing.
Yeah,
And there's so much growth that we all need that we ought to be in the books. We ought to be in the Bible, the first book, and then all the books that are written. And then we have to listen to programs like yours.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because we need to learn from each other in what's out there. Because if we become closed off, we don't grow, we don't expand.
Yeah. I think the best leader, and I want you to respond to this, Ireland, the best leader is someone who can cultivate other leaders. If you aren't cultivating other leaders, I'm wondering, are you truly a leader? What do you think about that?
I agree. I agree. The best leaders should try to have someone that's gonna take their place because no one
Mm,
is here forever. Jesus cultivated 12 leaders. One chose
yeah,
to go away, right? But
yeah,
he
yeah,
did. That was what he was doing. So our job should be to not just give someone a fish, but teach them how to fish. So
yeah. I
and
love
when
it.
I educate people, I don't just do it for them. I teach them how to do it for their family, how to
Yeah.
take that information and take it to their generations.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned the Christ too, because he was the expert at team building. And as I look at you, you are also expert at team building. How do you go about building and working with successful teams?
The way I do so, I look for two different things. The desire for
Mm,
someone to help others, because it
yeah,
has to be there. Anyone can make money, but
yeah,
I look at someone who wants to help others, someone who has a big vision, a big goal. Then if we align together, I teach you and mentor you. I meet you where you are in the space that you
yeah,
are, and I pour into you so that you can learn to stand on your 2 feet and learn to, but I pour belief into you so that you can learn to start believing in yourself. And,
yeah.
of course, just as Jesus did, a lot of teaching
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
he did all
And
of that. He's the model,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah, he's the model.
he's the model for sure.
Yeah.
Share, 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 because I mean it's true. I mean together everyone can achieve more. It's true. That is possible for sure. One
Absolutely.
last question, Ireland. Are you I know you live in New Jersey. You're licensed in New Jersey, is that right?
Yes, with licensed financial professional, we can be licensed in our home state, and then
Mhm.
we can do business in all 50 states.
Oh,
It
really? So you can do business in my home state, in my state of South
yeah,
Carolina.
yeah,
Look,
absolutely.
Ireland, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you down the road. So I'm going to just say it now. I want to talk to you. So you're licensed to do business all over the country.
Yes, in all over the country because it's a compact license. That's what it's
Okay.
called. Yes.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Okay, folks, you have no excuse. Yrlande Simon is available to talk to you no matter where you live in the United States. Ireland, is there anything else you want to share with us that I haven't asked you about today?
Well, thank you. I first I want to say thank you for what you're doing because we need more of you. We need more of what you're offering because again, we can't stand around the problem and say we're not doing anything. So bringing
Yeah.
these possibilities, these changes in to networking and just gleaning from what each other's doing is key. That's how we're going to grow as a community. And the second thing I want to share with people is that don't run from an issue expecting for it not to become an issue. I got
Mm,
into this industry because I wanted to meet people before it was too late. And what I
mm,
mean by that, the minute you see me as a nurse or nurse practitioner, it's too late for you. So you
mm,
want to meet me now by choice, where you sit with me and says, there's no money involved where I have to pay you. There's no strings attached. You come to learn this information. And then you do whatever you need to do with it. So don't wait till life happen and then you're trying to close the door.
that's right.
Every couple of seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. This month is heart disease month. That's one of the leading cause of death for women and men, regardless of
Mm,
their nationality or color. So a lot of African American, we are plagued by heart disease. So
mm,
you don't want to wait for it to be too long. Every couple of seconds, someone is having a stroke. I used to be a stroke nurse.
mm,
And I took care of people where I wondered what happened to them. So I
mm,
want to bring that solution before it's too late. And
mm,
every couple of seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. And everyone's wondering, how is cancer so prevalent? Is it in the water? Is it in the air? Instead of
mm,
wondering why, let's do something about it. Having an insurance policy is not going to keep you from getting sick, but it could be the solution to replace your income. It could be the
mm,
solution to, if God decides to take you home, for you to leave your family with something. So they
mm,
won't cry twice, just as you said.
mm.
But I say they would
Yeah,
cry endlessly. So
yeah,
that would be my final thought to tell people, your inaction means that you don't care about yourself or your family. So if you
yeah.
truly love your family, you will do something, put something in place for their future.
Ooh, I'm so grateful that we had this conversation today. All I can do now is say you've been listening to the Possibility Action Network podcast. Our guest today has been Yrlande Simon, a financial expert. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton. Until next time, good day.
You are not alone, just keep on.